My name is Christy Alosio, and I am a counselor at Healing Hearts of Indy in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I want to start a video series talking about marital myths. I want to talk about common issues that we hear about marriage or sayings that we hear about marriage, and I want to either talk about whether they are fact or whether they are fiction. So today I want to kind of start with a big one that people hear about a lot, which is the 7-year itch. I think most of us have heard that phrase before from somebody, and oh, they must be experiencing the 7-year itch. So what exactly does it mean? I think a lot of people interpret that as saying to be around the 7-year mark of marriage is when issues start to arise in a marriage where the couple starts to have more conflict when they weren't having conflict, that they start to be really distant from each other, their intimacy dies, they're living like roommates, where an affair might happen, where just in general people start to look and to be unhappy in their marriage. So I want to talk about, is that true or is that false? And I think that there is a lot of truth to the 7-year itch for people. Part of why that is because when we first meet people in relationships, we get into a phase that's called enmeshment. And enmeshment is two people too close together with not any space in between. So imagine two circles, and the two circles overlap, and the middle part of the circle, the overlap is shared by each person in the couple. So let me just start by saying that the enmeshment period in a relationship feels really good to people. It is the honeymoon period. It is where we're head over heels in love with somebody. Everything's wonderful. We want to spend every minute together. We're calling each other all the time. We're texting each other all the time. It's really truly what love songs are written about, that just overwhelming, I love you and I can't live without you feeling. So in saying that it is a really good phase for people, that they really feel that way, it's not necessarily a really healthy place to be. If you're sharing that middle part of you, then you can't be your own person. You can't have your own boundaries. If that person, if your partner has a bad day, then that middle part of you has to have a bad day because you share that with each other. You're not really allowed to be your own person. So in saying it feels really great, but it's not always the best place to be. It is when people are in that enmeshment phase, they don't see the world very clearly. It's like they're on drugs. The overwhelming feeling is like a high. We don't think very clearly. We look at things differently. We just, it's like we're falling in love with beer goggles on, like love goggles. Like we don't always see the other person for who they are. Every day on my couch, I have couples that sit there and say, this isn't the person I married. He wasn't like that when I got married, or she didn't do that. She wasn't like that at all when we were dating. But if you really look back on it and you look at that enmeshment phase through clear eyes now, if you're outside of that, then you can see that the signs were there. I've had people that married alcoholics that say, well, we were in college and everybody was drinking, so how was I supposed to know that his or her drinking, was worse? But if they really go back and look at it, they're like, oh, that person can never be sober, or that person always drank to excess or drove, or there's other signs there. But when we're enmeshed, it's like we have blinders on. So our partner is who they are, and we're just sitting there going, no, don't want to see it, because the enmeshment feels too good. We don't want to lose that high that we're feeling. So, we all kind of go into love, fall into love, go into marriage, kind of with our love goggles on, that, we're only seeing those things that we want to see about somebody, and we often have a hard time really seeing that other person for who they truly are. So the reason that I feel like that the 7-year itch is true is that enmeshment for the average couple lasts 7 years. Now it can vary from that. I've had couples whose enmeshment only lasts 6 months, to couples whose enmeshment has lasted 20 plus years. It's very rare. But generally, if you would look at the average, it's about 7 years that enmeshment lasts. And so I think when that enmeshment starts to wear off and we start to see our spouse for who they really are is when the issues in marriage start. When you're high and you're having fun and you're in the honeymoon period, marriage is great and there isn't any issues or any conflict. But once that wears off, we start to face the real person, and we have to start really looking at our marriage for what it is. Now, just to put a disclaimer in it, in my opinion, everybody has issues that they're dealing with. Everybody kind of brings in a little baggage to the marriage. And so when that enmeshment wears off, the issues that people are dealing with are real life issues. They're real things that people deal with every day. And it just feels differently when you thought you had this one thing, this wonderful honeymoon period marriage, and all of a sudden it turns into real marriage, which is hard and tough and takes a lot of effort and motivation from each person in the couple. So as an enmeshment starts wearing off, it's time to start looking at real life and looking at a real marriage and looking at real conflict that we may need to have, and just looking at how do we deal with this marriage that we have now that just isn't based off of us kind of being high on each other. So that's kind of when the couple really needs to start to button down and start working on their marriage and start figuring out what issues and conflict may be there and how they need to move forward with that. So if your marriage is experiencing the 7-year itch, or somebody's marriage who is experiencing the 7-year itch, and you're interested in getting some help in that, please let me know. My email address is Christy@healingheartsofindy.com. That's CHRISTY@healingheartsofindy.com. Also, if you have any ideas or topics that you would like me to discuss in my series of marital fact or fiction, I would love to hear them. So please email me your ideas, and I'd be happy to do a video on those and discuss whether I see that as fact or whether it is fiction in a marriage. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you're still in the honeymoon period, great, enjoy it. And then if that is starting to wear off, I just can't stress enough how important it is to start working on those real issues that come up in marriage before they start to get bigger and bigger, and resentment builds, and then it just makes it more difficult. So get started on working on those issues in your marriage today. All right, thanks.